11. Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise they wait. Yeah. Yo. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The session is about to start. May I kindly have your attention, please? Thank you so much. Let me just ask all the panelists to come up front, please. Are they outside, the panelists? But they're supposed to be inside. It's 11 o'clock. According to my watch, they went for a cup of tea. Because I just want to know if Dr. Sunshine is here, Mr. Vukile Nkabinde, Mr. Motlacho Makaipia, Ms. Daphne Mokhadi, and Dr. Julian. Are they here? I don't know how they look like. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to see them. Can you please raise your hands so that... They are loading, okay. Yes, grab the coffee quickly. Okay. And then who? Yeah, I just want to make sure. Now I'm waiting for. Yes. Thank you. I thought you have run away, you know. And then I'm now looking for. Oh, Prof. Mamelo wouldn't be able to attend today. And then Vukile is here. Who am I missing now? Dr. Julian? Online. Is he joining online? Okay, I won't forget that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about to start. I think this is one of the burning issues that everybody will want to hear about. Let me, before we start, to introduce myself before introducing the panelists so that the people know who is in front of them. My name is Kiwolebukile Mutaung. I'm the Director for Technology Transfer and Innovation at the Durban University of Technology. And thank you so much for availing yourselves for attending these sessions. We are really appreciated. And then I've got panelists who are going to tell us about the unlock or the support of the medical device, medical cannabis industrial potential. And what we've got here, I've got Dr. Sunshine Blow, from Eastern Cape Rural Development Agency, South Africa. And we've also got Mr. Vukile Nkabinde, Informal Business Support, Department of Small Business Development, South Africa. We've also got, we have Mr. Mutlanshwa Makaipia, Chief Director, Agro-Processing, Gauteng Department of Agriculture. Also, Professor Mamelo couldn't join us. And then we've got Ms. Daphne Mokhadi Fafudi, who is a Manager, Regulatory Compliance, South African Health, SAPRA, Products Regulatory Authority. And then Dr. Julian Jafta, Chief Director, Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, Rural Development. And then he will be joining us online. So what I'm just going to do here quickly without any waste of time, because this session is, we just got, we have to be, yeah, it's already 5 past. We have to make sure that you are on time for other sessions as well. And we also want to see you guys engaging in this session so that it must not only be the panelists talking about that. When one starts talking about cannabis, and which I'm just not going to talk anything about it because we want to hear from them, and the unlocking of the medical cannabis industrial potential, I guess everybody wants to see, you know, to make a business out of this. And everybody is so excited regarding that. But one of the things that we need to have at the back of my mind is the aim of developing a cannabis sector strategy. And those are the kind of things that perhaps we'll have to talk about and discuss that. And to do this successfully, it cannot be just only a one-man show. We need to engage science diplomacy. We need also to engage higher education research centers to ensure that the process is underpinned by robust research and provide an ecosystem for the production of new knowledge in the sector. And I think this is where sometimes the debate is going to start talking about. On the other hand, everybody claim and that I've got a license, and I think definitely from SAPRA will be able to tell, because when you get somebody who will tell you, no, I mean, not that I've got a license. Perhaps just to have a database of all the people that they claim they have license, and where we will be able to get into that. So I really don't want to waste a lot of time also, because this is a real critical sector that we are all looking for and developing specifically. We're also going to look for either attraction of more investors, as we really want to understand and what is this all about. So without any waste of time, I'm going to give some of my panelists here 5 minutes, you know, like a pitch, just to say something, then we can start with the discussion. Who's going to be first? Let me, ladies first, okay. Daphne will be number one. Over to you, Daphne.
Thank you. Good morning, esteemed attendees. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Mokhadi, also known as Daphne Fafudi. And for 5 minutes, I'll just be speaking about this. This is just a summary of what the South African Health Product Regulatory Authority does. As you know, we regulate health products in South Africa in terms of quality, safety, and efficacy that will be consumed by human and animal use. So in terms of cannabis, colleagues, you would remember that this is an internationally controlled substance and is regulated in terms of the UN conventions, which we are a member of. And there are 3 conventions that relates to cannabis, and we need to be reporting on. So to first have estimates of how much South Africa will consume, we need to negotiate, we need to communicate with them and let them know what we will be doing. So this is in terms of medical and scientific purpose. And I'm excited that we've got scientists here, because this is one industry that is seen as a potential game changer. And the ordinary people on the ground depends on you as experts to oversee and support them. So in terms of the conventions, member states need to ensure that there is proper regulation in place to ensure that these habit-forming addictive substances are controlled and we are accountable where required. And we therefore, in terms of the Medicines Act, make provision for this. And also, you know, there is the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act. So you will remember the Concord judgment of 2018, where it was seen unconstitutional for depriving adults in their private space to use cannabis. And therefore, we needed to enable, as the Medicines Act custodian and also the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act, by the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development needed also to make amendments. And you know there is a cannabis bill that is currently in Parliament. And in terms of the Medicines Act, we did these amendments. And at the moment, in terms of our amendments, I'll just roughly tell you what you did. But we consulted with organizations such as the Agriculture, our sister Department Health, Department of Justice, Science and Innovation, Small Business, DTIC, the IDCs, the Justice Cluster, and in doing, and in also the interest groups, the cannabis interest groups, civil society, etc. There were various groups that we participated in, and also we currently participate in the master plan and any discussions relating to cannabis to see what framework can South Africa develop to enable commercialization and industrialization in a responsible and profitable manner. And so in terms of the scheduling, so we know there are two main cannabinoids, which is the tetrahydrocannabinol and the cannabidiol, THC and CBD. These are the main ones at the moment. And in terms of the international control, we know THC is the habit-forming one, a psychoactive one, and then the CBD not. However, THC is Schedule 6. And in terms of the scheduling, Schedule 6 is highly regulated. This is your narcotics and psychotropics. You need a prescription, which is issued by your doctor. It must be gotten through the pharmacy or the approved supply chain. And in terms of Schedule 4, again, also requires a prescription, similar to that of Schedule 6, but less control. But we therefore also excluded CBD in low doses to say that that can be available either as a complementary medicine or supplement, or it can also be available for non-medicinal purpose, cosmetics, food, any other industry. We don't regulate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we therefore removed the inscription of cannabis from our schedules to deal with the cannabinoids. And in terms of this is what I said. So for us to exclude it, it must not make medicinal claims. And then there must be, in terms of quantities, the maximum daily dose should not exceed 20 milligrams. The full pack should not exceed 600 milligrams. And it has to just make a general enhancement of health, but no claims. Because the moment you make claims, we need to evaluate. So, and also, as I indicated, if it's not medicinal, we don't regulate. So, and we know that there is a low THC, also called as hemp. This is administered under the Department of Agriculture and not the Medicines Act. But if you are making medicines, then it falls under us. At the moment, there are no registered products in South Africa that contains, and globally, you would also know that there are hardly any products. But we do have a complementary framework, as well as the orthodox, and we have a Section 21 where if there are patients that requires treatment, a clinician can prescribe for that particular patient. So that is at the moment. And in terms of licensing, ladies and gentlemen, these are the licenses that SAPRA has issued. Application for a license, this is medical use. So remember, it's about the quality, the safety, and the safety of the patient that will be consuming that and the efficacy of that product. So in terms of the provinces, this is the number of licenses, and then these are the applications that we have received. We haven't rejected any application to date because it's an enabling mechanism. This is still a learning process. We allow people. We also issue permits to research institutions so that we can explore more and develop product. We enable R&D and in this regard. So we do issue permits. Thank you very much. I will take questions.
Thank you so much. I think I'm just looking at this licensing, it's very interesting to see that Gauteng, they only got 6, but I don't want to, because we're still going, and the people, let me just stop there. A lot of people, they always tell us that they've got license in Gauteng, but you can see Gauteng 6. Let me pause there, and then I'm just going to ask Doctor to come and say something, and then we're going to talk about this.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks to the organizers for affording me the opportunity to come and tell the story of my people, from whom I derive my being, and on whose behalf I'm standing here. Whilst I come from the Eastern Cape Rural Development Agency, what one cannot take away that I'm a product of the sun and the Khoi, as well as the people of the Eastern Cape. And my presentation today before this august body is to try to untangle what we have complicated as policymakers. This would be the title of the presentation, The Negative Impact of the South African Policy and Regulatory Uncertainties to the Eastern Cape Cannabis Industry Development. It's a short presentation, colleagues, but it goes to the heart of the problem that we are facing as a country. These are the objectives of the presentation, to engender the spirit of cooperative government as dictated by Section 154 of our Constitution, and contribute to the rational engagement, amongst all the participants that have got a vested interest on the subject matter, to contribute towards a people-centered policy and regulatory framework founded. And I think this is where, the emphasis on centuries-old indigenous knowledge, technological prowess to protect the SA germplasm, and the adoption of the land, unlearn, relearn philosophy. It's never too late to go back to the drawing boards. The right noise were made by the politicians of this country, and amongst those politicians being, the number one citizen of South Africa, State President Ramaphosa in his State of the Nation address, with an emphasis particularly to two provinces in recognition of the old indigenous knowledge system on cannabis, the Ponderland as well as KwaZulu-Natal. And that was by no accident, colleagues. This was a tacit recognition of the indigenous knowledge around your cannabis. This was followed by our Premier, Oscar Mabuyane, making the same, commitment to the people of the province. It's a commitment he started, to make in 2019. This is the elephant in the room, colleagues. Or on the left-hand side of, the slide, prints the harmonization that needs to exist between government, society, and business. Came cannabis. It created what we call is a dissonance because of how we have tried, not using what we know, but along the way come up with small piecemeal regulatory, framework as an environment. And what I'm actually, bringing to the fore of this august body and my fellow panelists here, we are sitting on the powder keg. Remember, in my province, the Ponderland Revolt. The Ponderland Revolt was around rejecting anything that the apartheid government threw to the Pondo people. You are talking of a resilient people who will protect and go to any length to protect the livelihood. Intsango, Umya is the livelihood of the people of Pondoland, as well as the people of Southern KwaZulu-Natal. And anything that seeks to circumvent that fact through policy, through regulation, you are sitting on a time bomb. And our responsibilities as scientists, policymakers here, go back to the drawing board. The picture shows, in particularly, the next picture, the picture there, it shows that in my province, people that are central in the cannabis business are women, poor women of our province. And if you don't design a policy framework that is intentional and address the unjust that has befallen our people, you would not be living to the constitutional, dreams that we have of an inclusive South Africa. On the left-hand side, probably, yes, on the right-hand side of this slide, this is the news as recent as last week, where the Pondoland, people in the Pondoland which is the belt which grows Intsango, Umya, felt that the current legislative framework is excluding them. And as this legislative framework, the anomaly in South Africa in 2019, we passed the Indigenous Knowledge Bill, which seeks to promote, to protect the indigenous knowledge. And here we are, when the hour of time wanted us to design a framework that live to the expectation of the Indigenous Bill, we are falling short as a country. This is the unjust and the history that befell my people, from whom my livelihood comes from. They have been persecuted by the apartheid government as well as by this democratic state through your glyphosate spraying. And it's the same people that has been at the forefront of protecting what everybody talks about. There's a green gold, the germplasm. If you don't own the seed, you don't own the industry. Instead of persecuting and continued persecution of these protectors of the South African germplasm, from which research and development can find expression, we should be giving them honors for protecting the land races that we have as a country. And I'm bringing to the attention of the policymakers that seed is trade. The slide shows what is the market of cannabis seed. Can you imagine if, as scientists, that we have been able to redirect the state coffers to utilize the land races that we have and develop our own certified seed, it would have reduced the cost, which is an entry barrier to this industry. And this is what I've been proposing, that those that were the defenders of this germplasm needed to be honored. By honoring them is to recognize them first, and you design laws and regulation founded by that very basic principle of honoring those that have, through their own lives, put their lives on the table for protecting that which will catapult the rural hinterland into a vibrant economic hub for this crop. So what will be the take home for all us here? Go back to the drawing boards. Recognize who are the knowledge holders. And I can tell you, probably most of us don't come close into understanding the technological prowess that goes with cultivating Intsango in an open field, giving high concentration of your Delta-9 THC. And we have made known to Dallard that the limitation of 0.2% THC, and not specific to the Delta-9 THC, is short-sighted. There's no scientific basis for having such a limitation. And it's something that the policymakers need to go back and redesign the policy, because we know as South Africa we have got a unique agroclimatic conditions where if you use your European varieties, you know, the THC spike, and you begin to wonder, how come the research trials of 1999 and 2000 were not taken into consideration to inform policy formulation? So, with those few words, colleagues, I am a representative of the forgotten indigenous cannabis growers of the Eastern Cape. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. I just don't want to waste more time again. Let me hear from Jidat. What are you going to tell us? What support can you give it to us? You can see support from your side.
Yeah. Thank you, Program Director. Good morning. From Gauteng, we have, through the Growing Gauteng Together 2030 strategy, prioritized cannabis industrialization. And we set ourselves an ambitious goal, and which is to unlock investment to the value of 3.5 billion in the cannabis sector. We essentially want to position Gauteng as the mecca of cannabis industrialization. So we have a roadmap that is 4 phases. We are still in a foundation phase where we are working on the issues relating to regulatory advocacy and making sure that there are instruments to support the sector to grow in relation to access to finance in particular. And I'll talk a little bit more to some of those. We have got a second phase, which is the takeoff phase, where we are looking at setting up, or would have set up, public-private partnership hubs that would enable aggregation and processing. And I'll also just, I've got another slide that will talk to that as well. And then from there, we've got the cruising up phase, and the vision is that of 2030. And we hope to have tripled the investment that we are targeting of 3 billion, and at least have created 15,000 jobs, or at the minimum. I'm sure you would all remember the president's pronouncing 130,000 jobs or so. Where would those jobs come from? So we have kind of looked at and said, as Gauteng, perhaps we've got the capability to contribute about 15,000 jobs. So we have developed our framework, which has got 6 pillars, and I'll talk more to the last 3 pillars, which is on finance, aggregation, and market development. And in those pillars, we have kind of come up with 5 strategic projects, and I'll just move to those strategic projects outright. The first strategic project is actually access to finance. And what we want to do here is to actually create a huge fund. We are starting with 60 million rand. And this is not a budget, it's just a fund that will be going directly to the entrepreneurs that are, of course, compliant. This will address access to funding for cultivation, processing, and distribution. It's going to be a blended funding instrument with a proposed split of 70 to 30 ratio. That is the loan to grant ratio. And then it will be administered by a Gauteng Enterprise Propeller as well as the independent IDC. And you must watch out the space. We will be publishing the implementation modalities in terms of where do you direct your applications. However, if you already have your applications ready, you can forward them to GEP. They take their applications online, and then you can be able to already access the, you can be in the database of the ones that will pull into the fund. The second strategic project that we're working on is it's a trading platform, Cannabis Exchange, which would essentially work on ensuring market access. So the 4 key things we're looking at is that we should have this trade platform that will facilitate exports, that will also help with issues relating to traceability and clearing, as well as the collation of data around the stock levels throughout those that would be subscribing to the exchange, and then also offering services such as logistics services. As we know, this is a high value commodity, and sometimes you need much more secure logistics in order to move the products, particularly for export destinations. We are anchoring this on the special economic zones. We have got the OR Tambo next to the airport, which is the ideal location. So we are at the phase where we are now commissioning a business case for the cannabis exchange, for the OR Tambo IDZ. And then we've got 2 other special economic zones in the province, which is the Vaal River City SEZ and the West Rand SEZ, wherein we would be supporting enterprises that will be processing at scale in those, and also linking into this market or trading platform. The third project, aggregation project, and specifically on the aggregation scheme, we are addressing the aspect of inclusivity. The small scale farmers, the small growers, how do we ensure that they get to really not be left out, as the previous speaker has already spoken. And we want to ensure that through the aggregation schemes, we are able to then build and strengthen the linkages between the small growers and the aggregators, in particular the off-takers. Sorry, not the processors, the processors. And I've spoken earlier in the roadmap that we will be establishing the hubs, one for Sedibeng, one for West Rand. And in those hubs, we will be enabling those that are processing to be able to aggregate and source the products from the small growers. And the aggregation scheme also is meant to cater for the linkages between the provinces. Obviously, as Gauteng, positioning ourselves to be the industrial hub of cannabis, we would need more raw materials from outside of the province. And that interprovincial linkages is part of the aggregation scheme project. And obviously the aspect of scalability, being able to scale up and have more volumes that are coming out. The next project is specifically looking at the bioremediations or the rehabilitation of mine lands that we are looking at Gauteng. We've got about 380 mine dams and slime dams within Gauteng. And hemp bioremediation of toxic chemicals is, hemp is one of those that has been proven to be the best in terms of phytoremediation. And we are, you may have seen in April or so that we issued a request for information for the industry players that are in the space already across the value chain. And we got about 6 responses of enterprises that are in the space of phytoremediation that we are busy engaging with in terms of how to then continue and take the process forward. Obviously, this is the space of DMRE that we are also engaging with. And we anticipate that this would be one of those anchor projects for the hemp industrialization project of the province, and contributing to environmental benefits and to the health of the surrounding communities. And the 5th strategic project is around certification and quality assurance. What we are working on here is to support the Val University so that they can be able to support the Sedibeng cluster, the Sedibeng District Municipality, Vereeniging van der Bijl area. Because there's a good cluster of SMMEs in that area that are in the space. So we are funding them in terms of equipping their laboratory such that they will be able to get accreditation from SAPRA as well as ISO accreditation. And then we also anticipate to partner existing labs that offer the testing services and support towards a dedicated reference lab. I think that's yeah. So my sister Mohadi spoke about the licensing. Yes, we've got about 25 medicinal, 48 from the hemp side, and obviously I wanted to mention that you may have seen on the 27th of May, the presidency published what they call country investment strategy. And they specified 5 big frontiers for the country. And they spoke about the actions that needed to be undertaken: convene, co-invest, catalyze, enable. And they spoke specifically on the enabling aspect, the need to finalize a common cannabis regulatory framework geared towards industrialization for export with a focus on medicinal value chain. And they spoke specifically of the concept of regulatory sandbox to test approaches in specific provinces and regions. So we are looking at, just as I conclude, so we are looking at coordinating actions with industry to grow the medicinal and industrial sector of cannabis, and to work with our relevant national department and other provinces in terms of unlocking the regulatory hurdles that are still out there, and to attract investment, and with, as I've indicated, our focus is specifically on the special economic zones to facilitate black industrialist participation in the sector, including supplier and enterprise development for value chain inclusion, and to ensure that the smallholder farmers that are wanting to integrate into the sector are not left out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Let me now, Mr. Victor, are you also present? Over yes. Then we can, I hope, colleagues, you will start preparing questions and comments that you need to pose to them and see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have a PowerPoint, or are you just going to go?
I hope it's still good morning, but greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vukile Nkabinde from the Department of Small Business Development. I hope all is well with you, especially the colleagues that we had some nice things yesterday. It's not of yesterday, but I'm trying to move this thing, man, and it's not. There we go. Colleagues, from the Department of Small Business, really, with the introduction of this, let's call it the new economy, some call it sunrise economy, this hemp and cannabis, let's say cannabis economy. Really, it was to say, what then do we do as a Department of Small Business? You recall we were established in 2014 after the National Development Plan was enacted as a country, that through small enterprises we can grow the economy, create jobs. So we therefore seek to be proactive in that space to ensure, I thought next is green. Yeah. But when I press, all right. Dear colleagues, then, you'll be aware that the Department of, let me call it DALRAT, but agriculture is the custodian of what is called as the cannabis master plan, cannabis industrialization master plan. And if you look at the master plan, it has got objectives. So for us, a small enterprise department, we're so, I would say, progressively so elated, not alone that we are participating on that task team, but really that there are clear objectives, at least Objective D and Objective H. They do relate directly to the intent of the master plan, looking into the support for small enterprises and really look at how we can advance manufacturing, meaning processing beyond, because you'll be aware, like my leader, Sunshine, as he was talking about our people really who've continued and have been there in the industry. It has been really more, not only, but more on the, some call it recreational cannabis. Now the wording will be adult responsible use, something like that. But that was mostly the element. So with the new economy, on the value chains that are there, there's so much. He referred to seeds, that's an industry on its own. Cultivation is one. Then processing into these myriads of interventions or products like we see here. I could not believe then, that's why I saw it is indeed a wonder plant with this many, many things, economic benefits, your foods, your oils, your construction industry, plastics, and you can name them. So you can see that when we are talking of job creation, economic growth, we really need to be decisive and be deliberate as a department. What we then did, so that I don't bore with justifications, they've spoken about the sonars, they've spoken about the constitutional judgments. So internally in the department, then we develop what we call a cannabis sector support plan for small enterprises. In other words, as I've mentioned on our role on the task team, we are that leading department for a pillar there, Pillar 6, on enterprise and supplier development. So in extracting that component was to say, let's start the work as a department as well, because the master plan is still being processed, so that when everything goes, we are not that far and not wait, but be able to be in sync. So it's premised on these 4 pillars itself as well, almost like our colleagues here from Gauteng, that the issue of, okay, first we start with information. With data, with information, you've got a right to speak. So that's why they say evidence-based policy making or designing of programs. So what's the state of small enterprise activity? What are the issues and so on? That then will inform our policy interventions. That's our second pillar, where we will get to be able to even advocate for, as we were speaking earlier, seats, I've learned also today, are key to this entry, but the legal space, the regulatory space, I mean, she's my friend, not that we fight, but really, 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 our people, the constituency of Mr. Sunshine here in the Eastern Cape that is growing, for them to get these licenses, let's say to branch from recreational to now core economic stuff, it's not cheap, you know. People really have to pay money, not only for a license nor permit, but the infrastructure for you to even be ready to say you are now can get this license. There are the preconditions before that. So the ease of entry really has to be taken care of, and so that our intent is not to clog, is to say how do we enable them, especially with the agenda of transformation with our rural communities there. And then the third pillar of intervention then, with your information, your policy intent to support, ease them, then what are the instruments that you develop, the targeted finance and non-financial support, so that we are able to, so it is here then with our agencies, CEDA and CIFA, that we are working also on what we call a cannabis now, a small enterprise support program, so that we will then relate with the other departments, especially the Department of Agriculture, so that in the value chain, we are able to say, okay, what are your interventions at the primary cultivation level, supporting farmers and so on, DTI, small business and others, at the agro-processing level to branch into these many products and so on, what are your interventions as well? So we need to be directly deliberate, hence the partnerships, very, very, very crucial. We have spoken about this then small enterprise support program, which will then be delivered for finance and non-financial support and working with partners. Some of the partners, which is very interesting, and I would say even maybe why we're also here, we are currently on a pilot initiative with the CSIR. We've got an agreement signed off, project plan, in fact, almost like Gauteng, on the identifying these enterprises that we can root on both the hemp and the medical cannabis component, so that when we invest resources for the next lot and we say, Treasury, please invest, we know what we're talking about, so that we don't thumbsuck. This sunrise economy just opened up. When the master plan gets processed or confirmed, as I said, we are already then here. We have got an agreement with the ECDRA, and the key was around this Makwa cannabis incubator that we are to do. We hope we can still salvage and work on that one. Even KZN, as you said, is very, very big in terms of this plant, Wonder Plant. So we look forward to that. We will partner. So colleagues, those are my closing remarks. We are saying, as a Department of Small Business, let us not tire. Let us be aware that it's beyond the recreation. You know, you remember Mo Sneyman, as you know whether you know him. You know, a Sneyman is a black man, you know, Maria called a Sneyman. I don't understand. Because Sneyman is an Afrikaner surname, if I'm not mistaken. But if you sell Zole Kasi, you are referred to as a Sneyman. Or maybe Sneyman was a traveling guy, you know, going after these guys and, yeah. So we want to ensure then that our people in the rural areas are not left out because that was that Sneyman business. Okay, come, thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sneyman, for that informative talk. I'm now going to give an opportunity just to be brief to Dr. Julian. He is online. And Francina too, but Dr. Julian first and then followed by Francina. Are they connected? Is Francina online?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Do you see my slide?
No, we can't. I don't have a laptop here with me, so I can't see your slide. That's the language that you saw. We talk. Yes, we can see your slide. Over to you. May you kindly be brief, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. My name is Francina Rakhatla. I'm from the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. I'm from the Directorate Plant Production. I'm here representing the Interdepartmental Committee. We are facilitating the development of the Cannabis Master Plan. My presentation today, it will be to give update on the development of the National Cannabis Master Plan and the declaration of hemp in terms of the Plant Improvement Act. As a background, the development of the master plan has emanated from the cabinet decision in 2019, where the Minister of Department of Agriculture, Ms. Tokodi Diza, was appointed to lead the process. The main objective was to establish increase in primary production and manufacturing capacity of South African cannabis industry, create opportunities for creation of small and medium size enterprises, and increase investment in research and technology development to support increased production and develop and maintain an effective regulatory system. The development of the master plan, it cut across the mandate of many other government departments. So an interdepartmental committee was established to guide the process and also to form part of the development of the master plan. And these departments include the Department of Agriculture, include Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the South African Police Services, Justice, Health, Department of Small Business Development, Social Development, and government state-owned entities. The framework has the following pillars, which are 9 pillars: the effective regulatory system, the sustainable seed supply, the research and technology development, sustainable producer support system, market development, supply development system, manufacturing, and the product development and manufacturing, education and training, communication and awareness. There was a proposal as we're doing the consultations to add on the finance and trade and investment pillar. The master plan was subjected to a number of consultation processes where government is involved, state entities were consulted, and the private sector. Currently, the version was presented at NETLEC around June 2021, and the work has started in terms of the consultation process. The NECLEC process include a government, labor, private sector, and community. The reference group was established to support and is supported by the following work streams, which were established. It's work stream 1, work stream 2, and up until work stream 5. They were like dealing with the pillars of the cannabis master plan. A new development is that Presidency recently approached the Minister of Agriculture in indicating that they want to support and frustrate the work of the Cannabis Master Plan through the Operation Vulindlela, which is an initiative by Presidency to support the implementation and priority structural forms. So the project manager office has been appointed to support this, and the work has already started. The purpose it will be to fulfill the transversal coordination role towards conclusion of the master plan and the implementation, and the leadership is still under the Minister of Agriculture. These are the things that the Operation Vulindlela will be looking at: the agent development of legislative framework. Mindful the development of legislation is an extended process, so consideration in the interim will be to look at issues to address the constraints around the cannabis.
Sorry, Francina, we cannot see your
Yes.
slides. You didn't open your slides.
Oh, is it not? I thought you said you can see my slides.
We
Sorry
could
for
see your
that.
screen. There it is. May you kindly open it? Click on that.
Is it not sharing?
No, man. She's got a, yeah, because of the time. I'm just worried of the time.
Is there no way I can
Yeah,
do
just
that?
say share, yeah. And
You just continue, Francina, because I'm just worried about the
Oh, I-
time. Because just to wrap up as well, because we've got another speaker as well who I need to give an opportunity to him, and he's also connecting
Oh.
online. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I was on the what is the Operation Vulindlela will be looking at, and the other point will be to support a dedicated research program on the potential of the sector, and also for the NECLEC to communicate everything to the NECLEC and secure collaboration agreements and get inputs from the social partners. The next step will be to enhance or establish provincial cannabis coordinating committees, establish executive oversight committees. It will be at the ministerial level. And then the final version of the master plan will be presented to government clusters, and then the approval will be from the cabinet. And under the hemp framework, the department has taken over the regulatory for hemp as of October 21st. The principal legislation for regulating hemp is the Plant Improvement Act. It was amended to provide for the regulation of cannabis sativa L with the THC content of not more than 0.2%, which was also guided by the amendment of the Medicines Act. So the cannabis with THC of more than 0.2 are subject to the provision of the Act. During the declaration process, consultation was done with internal stakeholders. Consultation with all affected departments was done, and also the amendment of regulation of the Plant Improvement Act was also done. The transfer of the regulatory framework from Department of Health to DALAT was done. Approval of declaration also was done, and publication was done. And then also the development of the new guidelines were done, and the implementation and enforcement. The provision of the Plant Improvement Act caters for a compulsory registration of businesses, which include the seed sellers, the seed cleaners, the nursery, and the test laboratories. And the other provision is it caters for import, which means one needs to get authorization or a phytosanitary permit to import a hemp seed or plant propagating material. Thirdly, it will be distribution. When you distribute any plant propagating material or plant, the hemp plant, you need to have a form to do that. It also caters for registration of varieties. Any variety of hemp needs to be registered in terms of the Act. It also caters for quality control, that there will be day-to-day inspections of registered business to check for seed qualities, visual plant and labeling and all that. It also caters for certification schemes and also for export. These are the amendments and the additions that were made in terms of hemp. That is, the declaration has introduced a permit for cultivation, and there will be no exemption for registration of business, meaning everybody needs to register as a business in terms of hemp. When you import, there's compulsory authorization. When you distribute the material, you need to fill the transportation declaration. There's compulsory variety listing and variety registration. There's quality control, meaning there will be day-to-day inspections. And there's a need for an analytical report to confirm THC, which if you want to import, or variety registration, cultivation, certification, and export. The status of hemp permits in South Africa is like this, but we have received 590 applications, and to date we have issued 200 permits. This is the process. The forms and the guidelines are on the departmental website, and below these are the supporting documents, which comes with the application form. Thank you very much. And these are the contact details of the Office of the Hemp Permit and the Registrar's Office. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause. Our last speaker, Dr. is not here.
Dr. Jaff.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Apparently, yeah, thank you, Dr. Jafta is not around. Let me just go straight to the questions and to give the audience opportunity as well to ask the question. Let me just check with SAPRA. On one of the slides, you mentioned that the maximal dose was 20 milligram. Was this been scientifically proven, or how did they come with it?
Thank you. So when we were amending the schedules, what happened is that in 2019, we made an exclusion because CBD was classified as Schedule 4 prior, and then we were testing because of the increase in demand of this product and the popularity of cannabis. Then we thought, let's for a year do an exclusion notice to exclude CBD products from the regulation under CBD4, but low doses, to allow for research and also to see what is available in the market, and through that year to see what framework we can come up with. So through consultation, and that's how the 20 milligram maximum daily dose and the 600 sales pack became into effect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess because I'm a scientist, I would have preferred to see how it comes, when it was tested, as you always also ask us when we want to register medication in SAPRA. You want that evidence. So, but thank you for that. I'm now going to open the floor for questions and comments. But just before that, I just want to, the policymakers and you are involved a lot in terms of this policy making. Are you, I'm also going to use a tool, we usually call it a design thinking tool, where you have to go to the people on the ground that are also going to be affected by those policies. Are they always been consulted?
Yes, we have undertaken extensive consultation during the development of our strategy for the province. We had actually a series of webinars online, but we also had a series of engagement. As you know, that Gauteng doesn't have a lot of villages in the like Limpopo or Eastern Cape and so on. So we consulted with the farmers, who are the small growers. And then there's two traditional authorities in Gauteng, in the Hammanskraal area and Sokolumi, northeast of Pretoria. So those would have been the communities that we have engaged and consulted with. But in the main, we have run a series of webinars, and we had very good participation. I think in every webinar, we almost had participation from throughout the country, where we actually got a lot of inputs in terms of how we need to craft what must be entailed in the strategy, and what are the key gaps that we need to close in setting up the program.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to see, is there, yes? Where are you, Ronimo? Mike? Oh, okay, all right, yes. You'll just introduce your name and who you pose the question to, please.
Right, okay, it's not a question, it's just a contribution.
A comment, okay.
Yes, my name is Brailin Chitsonge. I'm a farmer in Gauteng, a medicinal cannabis license holder, and also a hemp license holder. So, and I'm proud to say that. It's just to say thank you so much for what you've put together, but I'm just here to say we're ready and willing to help and assist. I mean, I feel for the smallholder farmers because I know what I've gone through and what I'm going through. It's not an easy exercise, but we've now partnered with academias and scientists and researchers and so forth. So we've made very much a lot of headways. We consult with SAPRA on a regular basis to just get advice and see that we're on the right path. So we're ready to actually assist in the Eastern Cape and also in Gauteng. So we have and the small businesses, so we can assist in whatever way we can, set up a facility. We can avail space for that for you as well. Then we can just train the people. It's about education and skills transfer, which is
yes.
very, very important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And
thank you, Chairperson of the session. I'm Akwana Vuma from 870 Farmer. I actually have a comment and then two questions following that. So my first comment is just to thank the progress that we have seen so far. It's been quite a struggle, as the fellow speaker has already indicated. So it's good that we are here. And for the sake of the people from Bonderland, I'm hoping that at some point in time, we will get a pharmacopoeia that includes strains that are literally grown in the South African environment more than anything else. And I just want to check, in terms of compliance, I've heard mention about other stakeholders such as the agricultural department and everything, but I did not hear anything about the SAPC. So if you can just clarify me, especially from the SAPRA side of things, if you can just clarify me, how does the SAPC fit in there with regards to the pharmaceutical grade cannabis? And also, when it comes to the ISO standards, is our accreditation bodies ready? Is SANAS and SABS ready with trained and equipped evaluators for them to come and assess us? Because last time I checked, that was still questionable. And our facilities need to be accredited properly. So if you can just assist us with those, thank you.
thank you so much. Do we have any other question? Or okay, I think that was the one for both.
Hi everyone, Martin Magwaza from Totoba Biosciences based in Gauteng. More on the pharmaceutical side, but I'm interested in the gentleman, the challenges you spoke about in Pondoland. We want to extend a hand. Some of the challenges that those mamas are facing, we can assist. You know, the frameworks exist at the moment. I mean, we're busy navigating. I mean, we're the same people. There are frameworks and ways in which you can navigate it so that they can start tapping in to the medicinal side. I think it's more a function of how, you know, and I can assure you SAPRA is very open to those conversations. So it's more a comment and just extending a hand to assist.
I'm so glad, and thank you so much, Dr. The organizers for bringing this, because sometimes left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and then that becomes a problem, because you will see, like the lady just mentioned, that you are available to be able to assist them. You can even travel to go to Pondoland to go and assist, because sometimes those are the kind of the resources that they don't have, and they get frustrated, and people are not aware. Thank you for that. I will. Can I respond? Yes, please.
Sorry, Chair. I want to respond to the offer. It's a good offer.
Yes.
And I don't want people to go with the perception that nothing is actually happening. We need to go back to, what I was proposing in my presentation was under the current regulatory framework, you need to understand what is it that you can do and what is excluded. The Pondoland, under the current regulatory framework, because they are the growers of Dacha, high THC, falling outside under the current regulatory framework, there is no forward movement that they can actually do. Your operation, the current licensed operators for both medicinal cannabis, is founded on the production of your CBD, right? Not your Delta-9 and your THC. That's the exclusion. So I don't want people to go out with a misstatement that no, nothing is actually happening. What I'm bringing to the fore is the current difficulties and challenges as the whole permitting licensing system as it exists today. And what I was advocating was how then do we work better, smarter, and be inclusive and recognize those that are not accommodated with the current system. So I don't want people to go with a false notion that nothing is actually happening.
Thank you for that.
The licensing, it talks on industrial hemp. Your permit is on industrial hemp. You look at it, your definition of industrial hemp, it places a limitation on your THC, not even a Delta-9 THC, which is your psychoactive one. THC at 0.2% THC. You're not going to get a 0.2% THC in Pondoland and in Southern KwaZulu-Natal. So this is what I was actually looking at it. Unless we go for a special dispensation to the Director General, that's where your Tertiary Education and Science Council comes in. Because in law, as it stands today, you can only do R&D, research, for that which is actually excluding, and it will be at the behest of the Director General of Department of Health. So I didn't want people to go with that false, perception.
Yeah, yes, just respond to the lady from...
Yeah, if I may come in.
Yes.
I think there is a disconnect between their communication, because they are talking about both hemp and high THC. They are speaking about both when they say they are able to assist. The holding of a license is in terms of the Medicines Act, and also they have got hemp permits. So they understand the both frameworks, yes. Because what we need to understand is what is the finished products that we are speaking about. And in terms of the point 2, we, as SAPRA and the Department of Health, we are yet to receive communication or a submission that indicates that low THC in terms of 0.6 is not viable. We require something. We require, as you have said as a researcher, evidence-based. Bring us that, because you say you have got the evidence. Because remember, for us to come to point 2, it was based on the hemp research that was conducted, the submissions that were made. So now we need a revision of what you currently have to say now we need to move it to 0.8 or to 1%, whichever the situation is, to enable. Because I must say, South Africa is sitting on a very positive position globally. We are looked at as one of the frameworks that are currently working. So, and as a potential, people want to do business in South Africa. We have exported to many countries. I just want to say that we are looked at highly. So let us see how researchers can assist the Pondoland people in order to achieve that and also to assist the master plan and the Operation Vulindlela come up with a policy that will work for inclusivity for the people of South Africa. Because if that is what we need, all the role players, let's expedite the role that we are, we have in making this possible. Like I'm saying, South Africa is looked at as one of the leaders of cannabis. So how do we make sure that it's inclusive? Thank you.
Thank you so much. But there was also one question from the other the lady regarding the SANAS.
The SAPC.
Yes, and the SANAS.
This is a new industry, colleagues, globally. So in terms of, I'll start with the first one, the SAPC, which is the South African Pharmacy Council. Because mainly we speak about, in terms of the supply chain or value chain, cultivation is where a lot of applications are coming at. And Delta 9 THC it's a internationally controlled substance and it's a medicine. Therefore, the South African Pharmacy Council is involved. That's why there is a responsible pharmacist required. However, the facility, a cultivation facility cannot be a pharmacy. So, but the requirement of a responsible pharmacist in handling a medicine is a requirement. So that's why the SAPC is involved. They have been involved in the consultation, but in terms of enabling, we don't expect a cultivation facility to be a pharmacy, but the responsible pharmacist will ensure that the activities that must be undertaken in terms of quality of a pharmaceutical product, and that is the person that is answerable to SAPRA and also to the Pharmacy Council. But in terms of some SANAS, also there are those discussions, but they are still ongoing because various people are still trying, or stakeholders are still trying to finding fit as to what would be acceptable, what will work for the country. Thank you.
Accreditation. Okay. Thank you so much, colleagues. I think we have run out of time. I really want to give them an opportunity, just one parting words, just a second, like a pitch. Let me start with Doc. Last parting words.
Chair, seated here, I think we need to have an opportunity of having a seamless messaging to understand, and I don't want to, it's a good response I received from my colleague from SAPRA, and you could see how I am quite surprised to say under the current regulatory framework that we have, there is no muzzling of your high THC cannabis, there is ways. And the messaging also, Chair, I was instrumentally involved in the adaptation trials. We use a 0.3% THC, and that information is out there. And the issue of 0.2% THC, I'll finish here, Chair. We should understand that those countries that are ahead in terms of the breeding program, this is trade to them. The more they breed cultivars towards a 0.0 THC, it's trade for them. Yes. And we need, for us, look at our own agricultural conditions, to take into consideration. And we will talk about our colleagues, after this, so that we merge the different technical information that we have.
Thank you so much. And with the researchers, don't forget them as well. Yeah. Just last parting words.
Thank you. I want to say, yes, this is a complex process. I wish the Department of Justice was here, because in terms of a national framework, it would be easier if we have got one legislation that regulates cannabis, making reference to others. But we hope that the master plan would soon address these matters, because that is the platform that Cabinet has established to ensure that a South African working framework that is inclusive will be established. So we are the implementers of a policy, so we want that policy. Can't wait.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Yes. So from Gauteng, definitely we want to grow the investment, we want to attract more investment, and we want to contribute to a harmonized regulatory framework. We have the view that there is a need for a regulatory sandbox, as Mohadi was indicating, that it will be ideal that we have like one regulatory legislation, and we believe the concept of regulatory sandbox can actually be able to enable us to ultimately come up with that, because it allows kind of a test case of regulation where you've got fragmented regulator or contradictory or misaligned regulations. So that's something I think we want to continue to engage with our national counterparts.
Okay, thank you so
and
much.
other provinces. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Victor, a second.
Oh, thank you. I mean, really now. Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Colleagues, as said, well, information. If we start there with information, we are set. Then clear policy intent, transformation agenda. If you want to say really, I mean, this economy comes to this new government, so it needs to have an opportunity to be intentional transformation-wise and not just be by circumstances. Therefore, be intentional with your support instruments, and all of that we're saying through partnerships. It can happen, government to government and government with stakeholders as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I don't know if we still got Francina. Are you still online?
So I'm still online, thank you.
Yes.
From
Parting words?
Okay, from agriculture, we are saying this is a new industry for all of us. And because of the regulatory environment that we are in, this is what we can offer. And we tried a lot to include everybody in it. And we are willing to receive any comments, and we are willing to engage with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues. And ladies and gentlemen, give yourself a round of applause as we close the session. And thank you so much for availing yourself. Over to the next session. That started at 12 o'clock, I believe. I took there 5 minutes. No, it's okay. It's okay. I borrow it. I'll pay for that. Thank you so much.